Emma never believed in fairy tales until she locked eyes with a stranger at London's most exclusive charity gala. One dance, one kiss on a moonlit balcony, and her ordinary life shattered into 1,000 glittering pieces. When she discovered his true identity on Monday morning, what she did next shocked everyone. The masked kiss. Emma never believed in fairy tales until she locked eyes with a stranger at London's most exclusive charity gala. One dance, one kiss on a moonlit balcony, and her ordinary life shattered into 1,000 glittering pieces. When she discovered his true identity on Monday morning, what she did next shocked everyone. Before we begin, write in the comments what city you're watching from. And at the end, don't forget to rate this story from 0 to 10. Enjoy watching. Emma tugged at the borrowed emerald dress, feeling like an imposter among London's glittering elite. The grand ballroom of the Savoy Hotel sparkled with crystal chandeliers and the soft murmur of expensive conversations. "You look beautiful," Sarah whispered, adjusting Emma's mask. "Stop fidgeting. I don't belong here," Emma muttered, watching women dripping in diamonds glide past. "I serve these people breakfast at the hotel. I don't attend their parties." "Tonight you do. Mrs. Henderson insisted you use her charity gala ticket." Sarah squeezed her hand. "Live a little, Em." The orchestra began a waltz, and couples swept onto the marble dance floor. Emma pressed against the wall, nursing a glass of champagne that probably cost more than her weekly salary. That's when she saw him. Tall, broad shoulders filling a perfectly tailored tuxedo, black mask covering half his face. But his eyes, steel, gray, and intense, found hers across the crowded room like a magnet. Her breath caught. He moved through the crowd with predatory grace, never breaking eye contact. Emma's heart hammered against her ribs. "Dance with me." His voice was deep, cultured, with just a hint of roughness that made her knees weak. He didn't ask, he commanded, extending a gloved hand. I don't really dance," she stammered. "Trust me." Against every logical thought screaming in her head, Emma placed her hand in his. Electric current shot up her arm. He led her onto the dance floor with confidence that spoke of years of practice. His hand settled on her waist, pulling her closer than proper, and suddenly Emma forgot how to breathe. They moved together like they'd danced 1,000 times before. He spun her effortlessly, catching her against his chest, his eyes burning into hers through their masks. "What's your name?" he murmured against her ear, sending shivers down her spine. "Emma." "Just Emma?" She nodded, not trusting her voice. His cologne wrapped around her, expensive, masculine, intoxicating. The music swelled, and he dipped her low, his face inches from hers. Time stopped. The ballroom, the people, the world, everything disappeared except his gray eyes and the way he looked at her like she was the only woman in the universe. "Come with me," he whispered. He shouldn't have asked. She shouldn't have said yes. But when he took her hand and led her through French doors onto a private balcony overlooking the Thames, Emma followed without question. The night air was cool against her flushed skin. London glittered below them, the river reflecting city lights like scattered diamonds. "It's beautiful," she breathed. "Not as beautiful as you." The compliment should have sounded like a line. Instead, his voice held genuine wonder that made her chest tight. He stepped closer, backing her against the stone balustrade. His hands framed her face, thumbs tracing her cheekbones. "I've been watching you all night," he admitted, "wondering who you are, what makes you stand apart from everyone else in there. I'm nobody special." "You're wrong." His voice dropped to a husky whisper. "You're extraordinary." Before she could protest, his lips found hers. The kiss started gentle, questioning. But when Emma melted against him, threading her fingers through his dark hair, he deepened it with desperate hunger. She'd been kissed before, but never like this. Never with such consuming passion that made her forget her own name. His hands tangled in her hair, tilting her head to take the kiss deeper, and Emma lost herself completely. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, he rested his forehead against hers. "Stay," he whispered. "Don't disappear on me." The church bells of Westminster began chiming midnight. Reality crashed back like cold water. Emma stepped away, suddenly aware of what she was doing. She was kissing a stranger on a balcony, acting like someone she wasn't. "I have to go." "Emma, wait." But she was already rushing toward the ballroom, her heels clicking frantically on marble. She grabbed her coat from the attendant and fled toward the exit. "Emma!" She heard him calling behind her, but she didn't look back, couldn't look back. Outside, she hailed a taxi with shaking hands, collapsing into the back seat as it pulled away from the Savoy. Her phone buzzed. "Sarah. How was it? Tell me everything." Emma touched her lips, which still tingled from his kiss. "Sarah?" she whispered, "I think I just had the most magical night of my life." But as London blurred past the taxi window, doubt crept in. Men like him didn't notice women like her in real life. Tonight was a fairy tale, and fairy tales always ended at midnight. Monday, morning shock. Emma arrived at the Grand Wellington Hotel Monday morning with butterflies dancing in her stomach. After Saturday night's magical encounter, even the familiar routine of preparing the executive conference room felt different. "You're glowing," said Marcus, the head concierge, arranging newspapers on the mahogany table. "Good weekend?" "Something like that." Emma straightened already perfect water glasses, trying not to smile too widely. "Nervous about meeting the new owner?" Jenny from housekeeping whispered, polishing crystal tumblers. "Word is he's ruthless. Bought 3 hotels last month and fired half the staff at each one." Emma's stomach clenched. She'd worked at the Wellington for 3 years, working her way up from housekeeping to assistant events coordinator. This job was everything to her: steady income, health insurance, and the chance to help pay for her foster sister Lucy's university fees. "Maybe the rumors are exaggerated," Emma said, though her voice lacked conviction. "Alexander Sterling doesn't get to be a billionaire by being nice?" Marcus muttered. "My mate at the Langham said he walked in, looked around for 10 minutes, and fired the entire management team. No explanations." The conference room fell silent as footsteps echoed in the hallway. Emma's pulse quickened as she straightened her navy blazer and smoothed her hair into its usual neat bun. The mahogany doors swung open. Emma's heart stopped beating. Standing in the doorway, removing his charcoal suit jacket with fluid grace, was him. The mysterious man from Saturday night. The one whose kiss had haunted her dreams for 2 days. Steel gray eyes met hers across the conference table, and the world tilted sideways. "Good morning," he said, his cultured voice exactly as she remembered. "I'm Alexander Sterling." Emma gripped the back of a chair to keep from swaying. This couldn't be happening. The universe wasn't this cruel. He hung his jacket on the chair at the head of the table, and Emma noticed the thin white scar across his left knuckle, the same scar she'd traced with her finger Saturday night when he'd cupped her face. It was definitely him. Alexander's eyes swept the room, acknowledging each staff member with a brief nod, but when his gaze lingered on Emma, she saw a flicker of recognition quickly masked by professional indifference. He was pretending not to know her. "Please, sit," Alexander commanded, settling into his chair with the easy confidence of a man accustomed to being obeyed. The department heads filed in: Thomas from guest services, Patricia from accounting, David from maintenance. Emma took her usual seat halfway down the table, trying to blend into the mahogany and leather. "As you know, I acquired the Wellington last week," Alexander began, his fingers steepled before him. "I've reviewed the financial reports, guest satisfaction surveys, and operational efficiency statistics." His voice was steady, businesslike, but Emma caught the way his eyes kept drifting to her before snapping back to his notes. "The Wellington has history, character, and an excellent location, but it's been coasting on reputation for too long. Guest satisfaction is down 15% over 2 years. Revenue per available room is below market standards." Patricia shifted nervously. "Sir, we've been working on." "I'm not finished." Alexander's tone could freeze champagne. "However, I've also noticed some exceptional individual performances." Emma's cheeks burned as his gaze found hers again. The events coordination department, despite being understaffed, has maintained a 96% client satisfaction rate. The charity gala coordination alone has generated over £200,000 for various causes this year. The room murmured appreciatively, but Emma felt like she might be sick. He knew. He knew about the galas, which meant he knew she'd been there Saturday night in a borrowed dress, pretending to be someone she wasn't. Changes will be made, Alexander continued. But they'll be strategic, not reactive. I don't fire people for sport, despite what gossip might suggest. Relief rippled through the room, but Emma remained tense. Why was he pretending not to recognize her? What kind of game was he playing? Department heads will meet with me individually this week to discuss strategy and staffing needs. His eyes locked with Emma's. Miss Thompson, I'd like to speak with you after this meeting. Emma's mouth went dry. Around the table, curious glances were exchanged. Being singled out by the new owner was either very good or very bad. That concludes our introduction, Alexander said, standing. Welcome to the new Wellington era. Why, 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 why. Chairs scraped against hardwood as people filed out, whispering among themselves. Emma remained frozen in her seat, watching Alexander gather his papers with deliberate slowness. When the last person left and the door clicked shut, silence stretched between them like a taut wire. Alexander loosened his tie slightly, the first crack in his corporate armor. Hello, Emma, he said quietly. Her name on his lips sent the same shiver through her as it had Saturday night. But this time, anger quickly followed. You knew, she accused, standing on shaking legs. At the gala, you knew exactly who I was. Did I? Don't play games with me. Her voice rose. Then she caught herself, remembering where they were. You bought my hotel. You've probably read my employment file, seen my photo. You think I bought the Wellington because of you? The question was so absurd that Emma actually laughed, though it sounded more like a sob. Of course not. Why didn't you say something? Why did you let me make a fool of myself? Alexander moved around the table with predatory grace, stopping just close enough that she could smell his cologne, the same intoxicating scent that had clouded her judgment Saturday night. Because, he said softly, for one night, I wanted to be someone else too. The honesty in his voice caught her off guard. Up close, she could see faint lines of exhaustion around his eyes, the tension in his jaw that his perfect composure couldn't quite hide. I should go, Emma whispered. This is complicated. Wait. His hand caught her wrist not roughly, but firmly enough to stop her retreat. We need to talk. No, we don't. Saturday night was a mistake, a beautiful mistake, but still a mistake. Was it? His thumb traced the pulse point on her wrist, and Emma's treacherous body responded instantly. Because I haven't stopped thinking about it. About you. The confession hung between them like a live wire. Emma stared into his gray eyes and saw the same desperate longing she'd been fighting for 2 days. Mr. Sterling? Alexander. This can't happen. You're my boss now. I need this job. Then, let's discuss your job. His voice turned businesslike again, but he didn't release her wrist. You're wasted in your current position. I'm promoting you to assistant manager, effective immediately. Salary increase of 40%, full benefits package, and oversight of all guest services. Emma jerked her hand free, stepping back like he'd slapped her. Absolutely not. Excuse me? I won't be your charity case or your guilty conscience. Fury burned through her embarrassment. I've worked for everything I have. I don't need you to fix your aristocratic guilt by throwing money at me. Alexander's eyes flashed dangerously. You think that's what this is? What else could it be? You kiss the help at a party, feel bad about it, so you buy her silence with a promotion. Emma grabbed her notepad from the table. Well, I have news for you, Mr. Sterling. I can't be bought. She marched toward the door, head high despite the tears threatening to spill. Emma. Something in his voice made her pause, hand on the door handle. Saturday night had nothing to do with your job. And your promotion has nothing to do with Saturday night. She looked back over her shoulder. Alexander stood silhouetted against the floor-to-ceiling windows, London sprawling behind him like a kingdom he ruled. Then prove it, she said quietly. Stop playing games, or I'll quit and disappear from your life forever. The threat hung in the air as Emma walked out, leaving Alexander Sterling, billionaire, businessman, and the man who'd kissed her like she was his salvation, standing alone in the conference room, watching her go. The dangerous game begins. Emma barely made it to the staff elevator before her composure cracked. She jabbed the button for the basement level, needing to hide in the employee break room where Alexander Sterling's penetrating gaze couldn't follow. The elevator doors had almost closed when a strong hand shot between them, forcing them open. Alexander stepped inside, his presence filling the small space like smoke. The doors slid shut, trapping them together. "Going down?" he asked with dark amusement. Emma pressed herself against the far wall. "This is the staff elevator. You shouldn't be here." "My hotel, my elevator." He hit the stop button between floors. The elevator lurched to a halt. "What are you doing?" Emma's voice pitched higher. "Having a conversation without interruption." Alexander turned to face her fully, and Emma realized her mistake. In the conference room, she'd had space to think, to maintain distance. Here, barely 3 feet separated them, and the air crackled with the same electricity she'd felt Saturday night. "You said I should stop playing games," he continued, stepping closer. "Fine, no more games." "Alexander, I knew exactly who you were at the gala, Emma. I've known for months." The confession hit her like a physical blow. "What?" "I've been watching you. Every morning when you arrive at 7:30 sharp, even though your shift doesn't start until 8. The way you stop to chat with old Mrs. Patterson in the lobby, how you remember every guest's name and their coffee preferences." Emma's back hit the elevator wall. "That's Brooke. That's stalking. That's research." His voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "Did you know you hum when you arrange flowers in the lobby? Or that you always wear that little gold cross necklace, even though it doesn't match your uniform?" Her hand instinctively went to her throat, where the delicate chain lay hidden beneath her collar. "I bought this hotel because of you, Emma, because I couldn't get you out of my head, and this was the only way to stay close enough to figure out why." The world tilted. "You're lying." "Am I?" Alexander reached into his jacket and pulled out his phone, scrolling through what looked like financial documents. Acquisition cost, £47 million. All because a beautiful woman with kind eyes serves breakfast with genuine smiles instead of practiced politeness. Emma stared at the screen, seeing numbers that made her head spin. "You're insane." "Probably." His thumb traced her jawline, just like Saturday night. "But I've never wanted anything the way I want you. This is crazy. We barely know each other. I know you send half your paycheck to support 3 foster siblings who aren't legally your responsibility. I know you work double shifts during the holidays so your coworkers can spend time with their families. I know you cry during sad movies and laugh at terrible puns. How could you possibly?" Sarah talks. A lot, especially to handsome hotel guests who ask the right questions. Emma's eyes widened. "You've been interrogating my best friend?" "I've been trying to understand what makes you so different from every other woman I've met." Alexander's other hand braced against the wall beside her head, caging her in. "Saturday night, when you ran away at midnight, you broke something in me I didn't know could break." His honesty was devastating. Emma felt her carefully constructed walls crumbling. "You could have anyone," she whispered. "Models, actresses, women from your world. I don't want anyone else." His forehead touched hers. "I want the woman who danced with me like she was born to be in my arms. I want Emma Thompson, who thinks 40% pay raise is charity instead of recognizing her own worth." "Alexander, tell me you didn't feel it too. Tell me Saturday night meant nothing, and I'll walk away. I'll sell the hotel, disappear from your life, and you'll never see me again." The ultimatum hung between them. Emma looked into his gray eyes and saw desperation disguised as control, vulnerability hidden behind arrogance. She couldn't lie to him. More importantly, she couldn't lie to herself. "I felt it," she admitted quietly. "But feeling something doesn't make it right." "Why not?" "Because you're you, and I'm me. Because this hotel is my career, and mixing business with whatever this is, I could destroy everything I've worked for. So we keep it separate." "How? You're my boss now. Every decision you make about my career will be questioned." Every promotion, every opportunity, people will say I slept my way to the top. Alexander's jaw tightened. Let them talk. Easy for you to say, you're Alexander Sterling. I'm just Emma Thompson from foster care who got lucky with a job at a nice hotel. Don't. His voice turned sharp. Don't diminish yourself like that. It's the truth. It's not even close to the truth. Alexander's hands cupped her face, forcing her to meet his gaze. You're the woman who single-handedly increased guest satisfaction scores by implementing personal service protocols. You're the reason the Wellington has a reputation for warmth instead of just luxury. You're extraordinary, Emma, and it has nothing to do with me. Tears pricked her eyes. No one had ever spoken about her like that, as if she mattered beyond her usefulness. You're making this very hard, she whispered. Good, because walking away from you would be the biggest mistake of my life. The space between them disappeared. Alexander's lips found hers with desperate hunger, and Emma's resistance shattered like glass. This kiss was different from Saturday Night Raw, needier, with the weight of truth behind it. His hands tangled in her hair, pulling pins loose until auburn waves spilled over her shoulders. Emma melted against him, her own hands fisting in his shirt. She could taste coffee and mint on his lips, could feel his heart racing against her chest. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Emma's uniform was wrinkled and Alexander's usually perfect hair was mussed from her fingers. Emma, he started, but she pressed her fingers to his lips. Don't. If we're going to do this, whatever this is, we need rules. Rules? At work, we're professional, completely professional. No special treatment, no public displays of affection, no hint that anything personal exists between us. Alexander kissed her fingertips before gently moving her hand away. And outside of work? Emma's resolve wavered at the heat in his eyes. We'll see. A slow smile curved his lips, the first genuine smile she'd seen from him all morning. I can work with that. He hit the elevator button, and they lurched back into motion. But Alexander? Emma smoothed her hair, trying to regain some dignity. The promotion offer is off the table. I'll earn my advancement the same way I earned everything else. Fine, but you'll have to work twice as hard to prove you deserve what I was going to give you anyway. I wouldn't have it any other way. The elevator doors opened on the ground floor, and the bustling hotel world rushed back in. Alexander straightened his tie and smoothed his hair, transforming back into the controlled businessman. But when he looked at Emma one last time before stepping out, his eyes burned with promise. Dinner tonight, he said quietly. 8 o'clock. Antonio's on Cromwell Road. It wasn't a question. Emma watched him stride across the marble lobby, commanding attention from every person he passed. In less than an hour, her entire world had been turned upside down. She touched her lips, still tingling from his kiss, and realized that for the first time in her life, she was about to find out what it felt like to play with fire. Secrets in the penthouse. Emma spent the rest of Monday in a haze, mechanically going through her duties while replaying every word of her elevator encounter with Alexander. By closing time, she'd changed her mind about dinner 17 times. At 7:50, she stood outside Antonio's, wearing her best black dress and questioning her sanity. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Change of plans. Top floor, A. Emma stared at the message, then at the sleek glass tower across the street. The Wellington's residential floors. She'd never been above the 20th floor. The elevator ride to the penthouse felt endless. When the doors opened directly into a private foyer, Emma's breath caught. Floor-to-ceiling windows wrapped around the space, offering a panoramic view of London's glittering skyline. The decor was modern but warm, rich leather, polished wood, and art that probably cost more than her annual salary. You came. Alexander emerged from what looked like a kitchen, wearing dark jeans and a white button-down with sleeves rolled up. Casual looked dangerously good on him. You live here? Emma stepped into the main living area, trying not to gawk. For the past 6 months. He moved to a sidebar and poured 2 glasses of wine. I had it converted when I decided London would be my primary base. You mean when you decided to stalk me? Alexander handed her the wine, his fingers brushing hers. When I decided to understand what made one woman more captivating than entire cities. Emma sipped the wine, probably worth more than her monthly rent, and tried to process her surroundings. This is where you live? This is where I sleep. Living requires something more. The cryptic comment hung between them as Alexander led her to the windows. London spread below them like a jeweled tapestry. It's beautiful. Emma breathed. I have something to show you. He guided her to a desk in the corner, opening a leather portfolio. Emma's heart nearly stopped. Photographs. Dozens of them, but not candid stalker shots. These were security footage, screenshots, printed and carefully arranged. Emma laughing with guests in the lobby. Emma arranging flowers. Emma helping an elderly woman with her luggage. Alexander, this is... I know how it looks. His voice was tight. But I needed to understand. You were different from anyone I'd ever encountered, and I couldn't figure out why. Emma flipped through the images, seeing herself through his eyes. In every photo, she was smiling, helping, connecting with people. These aren't creepy stalker photos, she realized. You were studying me. I was trying to solve a puzzle. How does someone find genuine joy in serving others? How do you make every interaction seem like it matters? Because it does matter. Emma looked up at him. Every person who walks through our doors has a story, a reason for being there. My job isn't just to serve them, it's to make them feel seen. Do you know how rare that is? Do you know how sad it is that you think it's rare? Alexander moved closer, his hand covering hers on the photographs. My mother was like you. Before she died, she used to say that money could buy comfort, but only kindness could buy connection. She sounds like someone I would have loved to meet. She would have adored you. She always said the measure of a person wasn't what they had, but what they gave. Alexander's expression grew distant. After she died, my father threw himself into building the Sterling Empire. I think he was trying to create something permanent, something that couldn't be lost like she was. And you? I followed his example. Buried myself in business school, then mergers and acquisitions. Built walls so high that nothing could hurt me the way losing her did. Emma understood walls. She'd built plenty of her own. What changed? You. Alexander's answer was simple, devastating. Saturday night, dancing with you, I remembered what it felt like to want something more than success, something real. Before Emma could respond, Alexander's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and frowned. Sarah's calling you, he said, handing her the phone. Emma's heart lurched. Sarah never called this late unless something was wrong. Sarah? What's? Emma, thank God. It's Lucy. She's missing. The world tilted. What do you mean missing? She didn't come home from university yesterday. Her flatmates thought she was with you for the weekend, but when I called to check... Emma, she's been gone 2 days and no one noticed. Emma was already reaching for her coat. Have you called the police? They won't file a missing person report for 48 hours. They think she's probably just off with a boyfriend. Lucy doesn't have a boyfriend, she would have told me. Emma's hands shook as she tried to button her coat. Where are you? Her university, Camden. Emma, I'm scared. I'm coming, 20 minutes. Emma ended the call and found Alexander already putting on his jacket. You don't have to gad. Yes, I do. His voice brooked no argument. My car's faster than a taxi. Emma wanted to argue, to maintain her independence, but Lucy was missing and Alexander was offering help she desperately needed. Okay, she whispered. As they rushed toward the elevator, Emma realized that for the first time in her adult life, she wasn't facing a crisis alone. It should have felt like weakness. Instead, it felt like the first breath of air after drowning. The past reveals everything. 3 days later, Emma found herself in Alexander's penthouse again, sharing takeout Chinese food and trying to pretend their relationship made sense. You're overthinking, Alexander said, watching her push lo mein around her plate. I'm thinking the appropriate amount for someone whose boss bought her hotel to get closer to her. Former boss. I promoted Marcus to general manager yesterday. Emma nearly choked on her noodles. You what? Conflict of interest. If we're going to do this, he gestured between them, I can't be your direct supervisor. Alexander, You can't just restructure your business around our personal life. Watch me." His casual arrogance should have annoyed her. Instead, it made her stomach flutter in ways she was still learning to accept. "Tell me about foster care," he said suddenly. Emma's fork stilled. "That's not exactly dinner conversation." "Tell me anyway." She studied his face, seeing genuine curiosity beneath the command. "Why?" "Because you said something Monday about both of us being orphans, and I need to understand what shaped you into the woman who captured my attention so completely." Emma set down her fork, considering. No one ever asked about her childhood. People either assumed it was tragic and changed the subject, or they assumed she'd gotten over it and didn't need to discuss it. "I was 5 when my parents died. Car accident." The words came out clinical, practiced. "No extended family willing to take me, so I went into the system." That must have been terrifying. It was survival. Emma curled her legs under her on the expensive sofa. "I learned quickly that the best homes went to the prettiest, quietest children. I wasn't pretty enough or quiet enough." Alexander's jaw tightened. "You're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. I was a skinny, angry kid with tangled hair and trust issues. Not exactly adoption material." "How many homes?" 7, between ages 5 and 18. Some better than others. Emma's voice remained steady, but her hands twisted in her lap. "The Hendersons were the best. They took me in when I was 16, treated me like family. Mrs. Henderson is the one who gave me the gala ticket." "And the others?" Emma was quiet for a long moment. "Not all foster families take children for the right reasons, Alexander. Some want the government money, some want free labor, and some—" She didn't finish, but Alexander's face darkened with understanding. "Did anyone hurt you?" "Nothing I couldn't handle." Emma's tone warned him not to pursue that line of questioning. "The point is, I learned early that the only person I could count on was me. So I studied hard, worked multiple jobs, and put myself through university. And now you support your foster siblings. Lucy, Marcus, and David. They're not technically my siblings, but we lived together for 2 years with the Hendersons, their family." Alexander reached for her hands, stilling their nervous movement. "You're incredible." "I'm practical." "You're both." He lifted her hands to his lips, pressing gentle kisses to her knuckles. "What about your parents? Do you remember them?" Emma's breath caught. No one ever asked about her parents, only the tragedy of losing them. "My father was a teacher. He used to read to me every night, different voices for all the characters. My mother was a nurse who sang constantly. She'd make up songs about whatever we were doing, grocery shopping songs, bath time songs, bedtime songs." Tears pricked her eyes as memories she rarely allowed surfaced. "They sound wonderful." They were. They made everything feel safe and magical, like our little family was the most important thing in the world. Emma wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "I try to do that with Lucy and the boys, make them feel important." "Is that why you chose hospitality, taking care of people?" "Maybe. I'm good at making people feel welcome, feel seen. It's the one useful skill foster care taught me, reading people quickly, figuring out what they need to feel comfortable." Alexander was quiet for a long moment, his thumbs tracing circles on her palms. "I understand now," he said finally. "Understand what?" "Why you ran Saturday night. Why you keep pushing me away." Alexander shifted closer on the sofa. "You're terrified of needing someone." Emma tried to pull her hands away, but he held them gently. "That's not. You've built this perfect life where you're the one everyone depends on. You send money to Lucy and the boys, you take care of hotel guests, you make everyone else feel secure. But you don't let anyone take care of you. I take care of myself." "That's not the same thing." Alexander's voice was soft but insistent. "When's the last time someone surprised you with flowers? Or cooked you dinner without expecting anything in return? Or held you when you cried?" Emma's throat tightened. "I don't cry." "Everyone cries, love." The endearment nearly undid her. She looked into his gray eyes and saw understanding that scared her more than desire. "Tell me about your mother," she said, deflecting. Alexander's smile was sad but knowing. He recognized her deflection but allowed it. Victoria Sterling was London society royalty who shocked everyone by actually caring about people. She volunteered at homeless shelters, fostered troubled teenagers, and drove my very proper father absolutely mad with her bleeding heart. She also started the charity that held the gala Saturday night. Foster children were her passion. Emma's wine glass nearly slipped from her fingers. The Children's Foundation? That was your mother's charity? Victoria Sterling Memorial Foundation. She died when I was 15. Alexander's voice roughened. I was in boarding school in Switzerland, too much of a coward to come home for the final months when the cancer got bad. Alexander. I've been running from everything she taught me for 20 years, building wealth, acquiring power, keeping everyone at arm's length. His gray eyes found hers. Until Saturday night, when I saw you across that ballroom and remembered what it felt like to want something that couldn't be bought. Emma set down her wine, her heart breaking for the lost boy behind the billionaire facade. Is that why you bought the hotel? Some kind of penance? I bought the hotel because I've been watching you for months, and you represent everything I thought I'd lost. Alexander's confession was raw, honest. Every morning, I'd come downstairs to the restaurant for coffee I didn't need, just to watch you work. You made that place feel alive in a way I hadn't experienced since childhood. So, you bought it. So I bought it. He laughed, but it sounded hollow. 47 million pounds, to be closer to a woman who might never want me back. Emma stared at him, this powerful man who'd restructured his entire life around her, and felt something shift inside her chest. You gave up your life in New York for me? I'd give up everything for you. The words hung in the air like a promise and a threat. Emma looked around the penthouse, the luxury, the isolation, the careful perfection, and understood what he was really saying. You're lonely, she realized. I was, until you. Before she could think, Emma reached up and cupped his face, her thumb tracing the sharp line of his cheekbone. Alexander Sterling, what am I going to do with you? Give me a chance? Instead of answering, Emma stood on her tiptoes and kissed him. This time, she was the one taking control, pouring months of loneliness and years of carefully guarded dreams into the connection between them. Alexander responded instantly, his arms wrapping around her waist and lifting her against him. The kiss deepened, became desperate, as if they were both drowning, and this was air. When they broke apart, Emma's heart was racing, and her carefully planned evening was in ruins. I should go, she whispered against his lips. Stay. Alexander. Not for that, just stay. Have dinner with me. Let me cook for you. You cook? I have many hidden talents. Emma looked into his eyes and saw the vulnerability he worked so hard to hide. This powerful man who could buy anything he wanted was asking her for the one thing money couldn't purchase, her time, freely given. Okay, she said softly. I'll stay. Alexander's smile was worth more than all his millions. But as he led her to the kitchen, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that she was stepping into a world that could either heal them both or destroy everything she'd worked to build. Her phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. How's dinner with mystery hotel owner going? Spill everything. Emma glanced at Alexander, who was pulling ingredients from a refrigerator that probably cost more than her car, and realized she had no idea how to explain that her mystery man from Saturday night was now her billionaire boss who'd bought her workplace just to be near her. Some secrets, she decided, were too complicated for text messages. When money can't buy love. Alexander's Aston Martin cut through London traffic with precision that matched its owner. Emma gripped the leather seat, her mind spinning with worst-case scenarios about Lucy. She's 18, smart, responsible. Emma said, more to herself than Alexander. She doesn't just disappear. Tell me about her. Lucy's studying English literature at UCL. She wants to be a teacher, like my father was. Emma's voice cracked. She's the baby of our little foster family. Marcus and David always called her the princess because she believed in fairy tales and happy endings. Alexander's hand found hers across the center console. We'll find her. You don't understand. Lucy's been through enough trauma, if something's happened to her. Nothing's happened to her. How can you possibly know that? Because she's your sister. And you don't raise quitters. The confidence in his voice steadied Emma's panic. When they reached Camden, Sarah was waiting outside Lucy's residence hall, pacing frantically. "Any word?" Emma called, jumping from the car before it fully stopped. "Nothing. Her flatmates are useless. They thought she was with some study group." Sarah's eyes were red from crying. "Emma, what if?" "No what ifs." Emma forced authority into her voice. "We find her, period." Alexander appeared beside them, phone already pressed to his ear. "James? I need you to locate someone. Lucy Thompson, 18, student at University College London." He rattled off details with businesslike efficiency. "Who's James?" Emma asked as he hung up. "Head of security for Sterling Industries. Former MI5. If Lucy's in London, he'll find her." Emma stared at him. "You have people who can just find missing persons." "I have resources. We're using them." Before Emma could process the implications of dating a man with surveillance capabilities, Alexander's phone rang. "Already?" He listened intently. "Text me the address. We're 10 minutes out." "You found her?" Emma's knees nearly buckled with relief. "Royal Free Hospital. She's been there since yesterday evening." The drive to Hampstead felt endless. Emma's mind raced with possibilities: accident, illness, assault. When they reached the hospital, Alexander bypassed the main desk entirely, leading them directly to the ward. "How do you know where Emma started?" "I made a substantial donation to their children's wing last year." They remembered donors. They found Lucy in a private room, pale but conscious, her left arm in a sling. Emma rushed to the bedside. "Lucy, oh God, what happened? Are you hurt? Why didn't you call me?" Calm down. I'm okay." Lucy's voice was hoarse but steady. "I was mugged yesterday evening. Hit my head when I fell, dislocated my shoulder. The doctors wanted to keep me for observation." "Mugged?" Emma's protective instincts flared dangerously. "Where? Who?" "Some guy near the tube station. Took my phone, my wallet. That's why I couldn't call." Lucy's eyes moved past Emma to Alexander, standing quietly by the door. "Who's he?" "This is Alexander. He helped me find you." Lucy studied Alexander with the sharp intelligence Emma remembered from their foster days. "You're the mystery hotel boss," Sarah mentioned. "Guilty as charged." Alexander stepped forward with a gentle smile that transformed his austere features. "I'm glad you're safe, Lucy. Are you the reason Emma's been floating around like she's in a Nicholas Sparks novel?" "Lucy." Emma's cheeks burned. "I certainly hope so," Alexander said, earning a grin from Lucy despite her injuries. A knock interrupted them. A young doctor entered, looking harried. "Miss Thompson? I'm Dr. Martinez. We need to discuss your discharge and follow-up care." "I'm her emergency contact," Emma said quickly. "Actually, there's been a complication with insurance coverage. The treatment costs will be covered entirely," Alexander interrupted smoothly. "Please bill Sterling Industries directly." Dr. Martinez blinked in confusion. "Sir, I'm not sure we can." Alexander handed him a business card. "My assistant will handle the paperwork tomorrow. Miss Thompson should focus on recovery, not finances." Emma stared at Alexander in shock. Lucy's medical bills could easily reach thousands of pounds, and he'd just accepted responsibility without hesitation. "Alexander, you can't." "I can, and I did." His tone brooked no argument. "Lucy, is there anything else you need? Prescriptions, physical therapy, transportation?" Lucy looked between Emma and Alexander with growing understanding. "You really care about her, don't you?" "More than she'll let me show her." The honesty in his voice made Emma's chest tight. She watched Alexander chat easily with Lucy about her studies, her recovery, her plans for the future. He asked thoughtful questions and listened to her answers with genuine interest. This wasn't the ruthless businessman from Monday's meeting. This was a man sitting on a hospital floor because Lucy was more comfortable at that level, speaking to an 18-year-old like her opinions mattered. Lucy touched her arm. "You okay? You look like you're about to cry." Emma realized she was staring at Alexander with something dangerously close to awe. "I'm fine, just relieved. What I would be made do 1,000. But she wasn't fine. She was watching a man who could solve problems with money. Choose instead to solve them with presence, with attention, with genuine care. When they finally left the hospital 3 hours later, Lucy settled safely back in her residence with round-the-clock security. Alexander had quietly arranged. Emma was quiet during the drive back to her flat. "You're processing," Alexander observed. "You paid her medical bills." "I did." Without thinking twice. Without thinking once. Emma turned to study his profile in the streetlight. "Why?" "Because she matters to you. That makes her matter to me." "Alexander." Emma's voice was soft, wondering, "What are we doing?" He pulled up outside her building and turned to face her fully. "We're falling in love, terrifying as that might be." The words hung between them like a confession and a challenge. "I don't know how to do this," Emma whispered. "I don't know how to be with someone who can just fix things. And I don't know how to be with someone who won't let me try." Alexander's hand cupped her cheek. "Maybe we figure it out together." Emma leaned into his touch, feeling walls she'd spent years building start to crumble. Together sounds scary. Together sounds perfect. When he kissed her goodnight, Emma tasted possibility and promise. But as she watched his taillights disappear into London traffic, one thought echoed in her mind. How long before the fairy tale ended and real life destroyed everything they were building? Public scandal, private truth. Emma woke Thursday morning to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. The first photo she opened made her blood freeze. It was her and Alexander outside the hospital, his hand on her cheek, looking at each other with unmistakable intimacy. The headline made her stomach turn. Sterling's newest acquisition. Billionaire boss caught with hotel employee in midnight rendezvous. Emma scrolled through message after message, each one worse than the last. Have you seen the newspapers? Your face is everywhere." Marcus from work. "Emma, Mr. Sterling wants to see you immediately. The lobby is crawling with reporters." Jenny. "Girl, they're calling you a gold digger. This is mental." Unknown number. "How much did you pay for those lips, sweetheart?" Sterling's money can buy better. Emma's hands shook as she opened her laptop. Every gossip site in London had picked up the story. Photos of her entering Alexander's building, leaving restaurants, even a long lens shot of them on his penthouse balcony. The comments were brutal. "Another poor girl thinking she can trap a billionaire. He'll dump her in a month, like all the others. She's pretty enough for a weekend, but Sterling men marry society girls." Her phone rang. Alexander's name on the screen. "Don't go to work," he said without preamble. "Too late. I'm already dressed." "Emma, there are photographers camped outside the Wellington. This is a circus." Emma looked out her window and saw them paparazzi with long lenses pointed at her building. "How did they find my address?" "Money talks. Are you okay?" Emma almost laughed. "Am I okay?" "Alexander, they're calling me a prostitute on Twitter. Someone posted my salary online and calculated how much I'd have to save to afford my own dress. Apparently, I'm either a brilliant con artist or incredibly naive. Ignore them. Easy for you to say, you're Alexander Sterling. I'm just the help who got above herself. Don't." His voice turned sharp. "Don't let them diminish what we have." "What do we have, Alexander? Because right now it looks like a very rich man having fun with his employee." Silence stretched between them. "I'm handling this," he said finally. "How?" "Trust me." The line went dead. Emma stared at her phone, feeling more alone than she had in years. She called in sick to work the coward's way out, but she couldn't face the stares and whispers. By noon, the story had exploded across social media. Someone had leaked details about her promotion offer, spinning it as proof she was trading sexual favors for career advancement. Emma was hiding in her flat, curtains drawn, when Sarah arrived with coffee and fury. "This is insane," Sarah declared, settling beside Emma on the sofa. "These people don't even know you." "They know enough. Poor foster kid seduces rich boss. It's a tired story." "It's not your story." Emma scrolled through more comments, each one chipping away at her confidence. "Maybe they're right, though. Maybe I am naive. What was I thinking, getting involved with Alexander Sterling? You were thinking he makes you happy for the first time in forever. Happiness doesn't pay Lucy's medical bills or keep my job secure." Sarah grabbed Emma's laptop and slammed it shut. "Stop torturing yourself." At 3 o'clock, Emma's phone buzzed with a news alert. She opened it despite Sarah's protests. Alexander Sterling was holding a press conference. Emma's heart stopped as she watched him stride to a podium outside Sterling Industries headquarters, looking every inch the powerful billionaire in his perfectly tailored suit. "Ladies and gentlemen," Alexander began, his voice carrying complete authority, "I'm here to address the speculation about my personal life." The crowd of reporters surged forward with questions, but Alexander held up a hand for silence. 3 weeks ago, I attended a charity gala for the Victoria Sterling Memorial Foundation, a cause my late mother founded to support foster children transitioning to independence. Emma's breath caught. He wasn't going to deny their relationship. He was going to own it. "At that gala, I met an extraordinary woman who volunteers her time coordinating fundraising events. We danced, we talked, and yes, we kissed on a balcony overlooking the Thames." Cameras flashed frantically. That woman was Emma Thompson, who has worked at the Grand Wellington Hotel for 3 years with exemplary service and unwavering integrity. Alexander's eyes seemed to look directly through the camera at Emma. "Miss Thompson didn't know who I was that night. She didn't know I had recently acquired the Wellington. She certainly didn't know that I'd been so impressed by her professional reputation that I'd already decided to retain all current staff." A reporter shouted a question, but Alexander continued. "The allegations suggesting Miss Thompson has received favorable treatment due to our personal relationship are categorically false. Her professional record speaks for itself. 96% client satisfaction, increased revenue in her department, and the respect of every colleague." Emma's eyes filled with tears as Alexander defended her to the world. "As for our relationship," Alexander continued, "I don't apologize for falling in love with a woman of character, intelligence, and grace. Emma Thompson would be extraordinary, regardless of her bank balance, her background, or her connection to me." "Mr. Sterling," a reporter called out, "are you saying this is serious?" Alexander's smile was slight but unmistakable. "I'm saying Emma Thompson is the best person I know, and anyone suggesting otherwise has never met her." He walked away from the podium without taking questions, leaving the press corps in chaos. Emma stared at the screen through tears, hardly believing what she'd just witnessed. Alexander Sterling had just declared his feelings for her to the entire world. Her phone rang immediately. "Did you see?" Alexander's voice was rough with emotion. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did. No one talks about you like that. No one." "Alexander." Emma's voice broke. "The things you said were true, every word." Emma closed her eyes, feeling something fundamental shift inside her chest. This man had just risked his reputation, his business relationships, everything that defined his public persona to protect hers. "Where are you?" she whispered. "Downstairs. I figured you might need a friend." Emma looked out her window and saw Alexander's car parked across the street, photographers still swarming but keeping their distance. "The paparazzi will photograph us together or separately." "Might as well be together." Emma grabbed her coat. For the first time in her life, she was ready to stop running from something that scared her. She was ready to run toward it instead. The ultimate test. Emma found Alexander leaning against his car, completely ignoring the photographers shouting questions and snapping pictures. When he saw her, his face softened with relief. "You came down. After that press conference, I'd have to be made of stone to stay upstairs." Alexander reached for her hand, and Emma let him take it despite the camera flashes exploding around them. "Let's get out of here," he murmured, opening the passenger door. They drove in comfortable silence through London traffic, paparazzi cars following at a distance. Alexander navigated with practiced ease, eventually losing their tail in the maze of city streets. "Where are we going?" Emma asked. "Somewhere we can talk without an audience." He pulled into the underground garage of an elegant apartment building in Belgravia. Emma followed him to a lift that required a keycard. "Another property?" "This one belongs to my business partner, James. He's in New York for the month." The flat was smaller than Alexander's penthouse, but equally luxurious, with warm colors and comfortable furniture that suggested actual living rather than staging. Alexander poured them both wine and settled beside Emma on the sofa, careful to maintain a respectful distance. "How are you handling all this?" he asked. Emma curled her feet under her. "Honestly, I feel like I'm living someone else's life. This morning, I was Emma Thompson, assistant events coordinator. Now I'm Emma Thompson, alleged gold digger and tabloid sensation. You're still Emma Thompson, the woman who volunteers her weekends to help foster children and sends half her salary to support siblings who aren't legally related to her. The press doesn't care about that version. I do." Emma met his eyes, seeing steady devotion that made her chest tight. "Why did you really hold that press conference?" "Because watching you hurt was killing me." The simple honesty nearly undid her. "Alexander, I need you to understand something. This world you live in, the money, the attention, the constant scrutiny, it terrifies me." "I know. I don't think you do." Emma set down her wine and turned to face him fully. "I've spent my entire life trying to be invisible, trying not to draw attention that might make people look too closely at where I came from. Today, my entire history was dissected by strangers for entertainment." Alexander's jaw tightened. "I'm sorry. If I could take back." "That's not what I'm saying," Emma interrupted. "I'm saying I don't know how to be with someone whose life is so public. I don't know how to be Emma Thompson, Billionaire's girlfriend." "Then be Emma Thompson, the woman I love." The word hit her like lightning. "Love?" Alexander's eyes never wavered. "I love you, Emma. I love your strength, your kindness, the way you make everyone around you feel important. I love that you cry during sad movies and laugh at terrible jokes. I love that you see people's hearts instead of their bank accounts." Emma's breath caught. "Alexander, I love that you're brave enough to call me on my mistakes and stubborn enough to refuse help even when you desperately need it." His voice roughened. "I love you enough to walk away if staying with me hurts you. Don't you dare." The words escaped before Emma could stop them. Alexander's eyes flashed with hope. "What? Don't you dare walk away from me now. Not after that press conference. Not after making me believe in fairy tales again." "Then what do you want?" Emma looked into his gray eyes and saw her future, complicated, uncertain, but undeniably real. "I want to try," she whispered. "I want to figure out how to be us, even if it's messy and public and terrifying." Alexander closed the distance between them, cupping her face gently. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure I love you too," Emma admitted. "I'm sure that scares me more than the paparazzi ever could." "Good scared or bad scared?" "Both." Alexander's laugh was soft, wondering. "I can work with both." When he kissed her, Emma tasted promise and possibility. But more than that, she tasted home. They were interrupted by Alexander's phone ringing. He glanced at the display and frowned. "I have to take this." "James wouldn't call unless," he answered. "James, what's wrong?" Emma watched Alexander's face change from concern to fury. "How much?" His voice was deadly quiet. "I see. And if she refuses?" Emma's stomach dropped. Something was very wrong. "Number, absolutely not. I don't care what she threatens." Alexander's eyes found Emma's. "Because Emma's not for sale." He hung up and ran a hand through his hair. "What was that about?" Alexander was quiet for a long moment. "My ex-fiancée, Victoria Ashworth, wants to meet with you." "Your ex-fiancée?" Emma's voice pitched higher. "You were engaged?" "Briefly, 2 years ago. It was more business arrangement than romance." "And she wants to meet with me because?" Alexander's expression was grim. "Because she's offering you £500,000 to walk away from me." The number hung in the air between them like a toxic cloud. £500,000. Emma repeated slowly. "Emma, you have to understand. That's more money than I'd make in 15 years. Emma, look at me." She did, and saw panic flickering behind his controlled facade. "You're not seriously considering Lucy's medical bills, the boys' university fees, a deposit on a flat where I don't have to listen to the neighbors fighting every night." Emma's voice was hollow. "That money could change everything. It could also destroy us." Emma stood up and walked to the windows, staring out at the London skyline. Somewhere out there, Lucy was recovering in a hospital bed Emma couldn't afford. Somewhere, Marcus was working 3 jobs to pay for medical school. Somewhere, David was choosing between textbooks and meals. £500,000 could fix all of it. "She's betting I'll take the money," Emma said quietly. "Are you?" Emma turned to face Alexander, seeing fear and love and desperation warring in his eyes. "I don't know," she whispered. The admission fell between them like a blade. Alexander stared at her for a long moment, then grabbed his keys. "Where are you going?" "Home. You clearly have thinking to do." "Alexander, wait." But he was already gone, leaving Emma alone, with the weight of an impossible choice and the sinking realization that some fairy tales came with a price tag. Love means letting go. Emma didn't sleep that night. She sat by her window, watching London's lights blur through her tears, turning Alexander's ex-fiancée's offer over in her mind. £500,000. It was more money than she'd ever dreamed of having. Enough to secure Lucy's future, pay for the boy's education, maybe even start the foundation she'd always fantasized about, helping other foster children transition to independence. All she had to do was walk away from the man she loved. By morning, Emma had made her decision. She called Victoria Ashworth's number, which had been in Alexander's phone contact. "Miss Thompson." Victoria's cultured voice was unsurprised. "I was wondering when you'd call. I'll meet with you. But not for the reason you think. 1 o'clock. The Ritz. I'll be in the private dining room under my name." Emma hung up and immediately tried calling Alexander. Straight to voicemail. She left a message. "Alexander, I'm meeting with Victoria today. Not for the money to tell her to go to hell. Call me back." But he didn't. At 12:45, Emma stood outside the Ritz, feeling like she was walking into battle wearing borrowed armor. Victoria Ashworth was everything Emma had expected. Tall, blonde, beautiful in the cold way of expensive sculpture. "Miss Thompson, you're prettier than your photographs suggest." "Miss Ashworth, you're exactly what I expected." Victoria's smile was razor-sharp. "Shall we dispense with pleasantries? I assume you're here about my offer." "I'm here to tell you that Alexander Sterling isn't for sale." "Everything's for sale, darling. It's just a matter of price." Victoria slid an envelope across the pristine tablecloth. £500,000. Clean break. Signed confidentiality agreement, and you disappear from Alexander's life permanently. Emma stared at the envelope without touching it. "Why?" "Because you're going to destroy him." "I love him." "Love?" Victoria laughed, the sound like breaking crystal. "You think this is love? Alexander Sterling collecting another broken bird to heal? That's not what this island. Isn't it? Tell me, Miss Thompson, what do you have in common with a man who owns half of London? What do you talk about when he's not playing savior?" Emma's chest tightened, but she kept her voice steady. "We talk about books, movies. His mother, my foster siblings, dreams we had as children. How charmingly domestic. And when the novelty wears off? When he realizes you'll never fit into his world, never be the partner he needs for business dinners and charity galas? Then that's his choice to make." "Is it?" Victoria leaned forward. "Because right now, Alexander's business partners are questioning his judgment. His board of directors is concerned about the scandal affecting stock prices. He's choosing between you and his empire, Miss Thompson. How long before he resents that choice?" Emma's hands clenched in her lap. Victoria was voicing every fear that had kept her awake for days. "He defended me publicly. He's infatuated. But infatuation fades, and duty remains." Victoria's voice turned almost gentle. "Take the money, Emma. Take it and disappear before you both get hurt." Emma stared at the envelope, thinking of Lucy's medical bills, of Marcus working 3 jobs, of David choosing between food and books. "I need to think." "Of course, but don't think too long. Fairy tales have expiration dates." Emma left the Ritz with the envelope burning in her handbag and Victoria's words echoing in her mind. She walked through Hyde Park for hours, turning the impossible choice over and over. Take the money and secure everyone's future, or choose love and risk destroying the man she adored. By evening, she'd made her decision. Emma returned to her flat to find Alexander sitting on her steps, looking haggard and defeated. "I got your message," he said quietly. Why didn't you call back? Because I was afraid of what you'd decided. Emma sat beside him on the cold stone steps, close enough to touch, but not touching. I went to see Victoria. Alexander's jaw tightened. And? Emma pulled the envelope from her bag and set it between them. She offered me £500,000 to disappear from your life. Emma, let me finish. Emma's voice was steady, despite the tears threatening. She said some things that made me realize she's not wrong about everything. Alexander went very still. We come from different worlds, Alexander. You're trying to build an empire, and I'm trying to survive paycheck to paycheck. You go to charity galas, and I serve breakfast to the people who attend them. None of that matters. It does matter. Your business partners are questioning your judgment because of me. Your reputation is suffering because you fell in love with someone inappropriate. I don't care about my reputation. You should. You've worked your entire life to build Sterling Industries. I can't be the reason you lose it. Alexander turned to face her fully, his eyes desperate. Emma, what are you saying? Emma looked into his gray eyes and felt her heart shatter. I'm saying I love you too much to let you destroy your life for me. The words hung between them like a death sentence. You're taking the money. His voice was hollow. I'm setting you free. That's not your choice to make. Yes, Island. Emma stood up, the envelope clutched in her shaking hands. Because someone has to be smart enough to walk away before this destroys us both. Alexander stood too, reaching for her, but Emma stepped back. Don't make this harder than it already Island. Emma, please. We can figure this out together. We tried. The world won't let us. Emma turned toward her building, then paused without looking back. For what it's worth, these have been the most magical weeks of my life. She climbed the steps and disappeared into her building, leaving Alexander standing alone on the street with the sound of her door closing like a gunshot in the London night. Inside her flat, Emma collapsed against the door and finally let herself cry for the fairy tale that was never meant to last. But the envelope with Victoria's money remained unopened on her kitchen counter. Because loving Alexander Sterling meant setting him free, but it didn't mean selling her soul to do it. The heart finds its home. 2 weeks passed in gray misery. Emma had moved to a small bed and breakfast in Notting Hill, taking a job as assistant manager for a fraction of her Wellington salary. She told herself it was better this way, simpler, quieter, without the constant reminder of Alexander's world. She was wrong. Everything reminded her of him. The morning coffee that tasted wrong without his smile across the table. The evening news featuring Sterling Industries stock prices. The way couples held hands in the park, looking at each other like the sun rose and set in each other's eyes. Emma threw herself into work, helping guests with the same attention to detail she'd perfected at the Wellington. But her smile felt painted on, and her laughter sounded hollow even to her own ears. You're miserable, observed Mrs. Chen, the bed and breakfast owner, on a rainy Thursday afternoon. I'm fine. You're many things, dear, but fine isn't one of them. Mrs. Chen settled beside Emma at the front desk. Broken heart? Emma's throat tightened. Something like that. Want to talk about it? Before Emma could answer, the front door burst open. Lucy rushed in, followed by Marcus and David, her foster brothers from the Henderson house. There you are, Lucy exclaimed, still moving carefully because of her healing shoulder. We've been looking everywhere for you. How did you find me? Emma stood, alarmed. Is everything okay? Everything's not okay, Marcus said, his medical school seriousness making him seem older than 22. You disappeared, you won't return our calls, and you look like you haven't slept in days. I'm fine. Stop saying you're fine, David interrupted, his usually gentle demeanor cracking. Emma, you raised us. You think we don't know when you're lying? Emma sank back into her chair, overwhelmed by their concern. Sit, Lucy commanded, pulling up chairs for the boys. We're having an intervention. Lucy. Number, you listen. Lucy's voice carried the authority of the baby sister who'd grown up watching Emma sacrifice everything for their family. We know about Alexander Sterling. We know about the money his ex offered you. And we know you turned it down. Emma's eyes widened. How could you possibly? Because he told us, Marcus said quietly. What? He's been taking care of all our expenses since you disappeared, David added. Lucy's medical bills, my university fees, Marcus's student loans, everything. Emma's world tilted. That's not possible. It's not charity, Lucy said quickly. He set up a foundation, the Emma Thompson Memorial Foundation for Foster Care Transition. Memorial? Emma's voice cracked. His words, Marcus explained. He said the Emma Thompson he fell in love with died when she chose duty over happiness, so this was his way of honoring her memory. Tears spilled down Emma's cheeks. He can't just, that's not how it works. Apparently it is when you're Alexander Sterling, David said. Emma, the man loves you, like, stupidly, desperately loves you. It's complicated. No, it's not. Lucy leaned forward, taking Emma's hands. You love him, he loves you, the rest is just noise. The rest is his entire life, his business, his reputation, his choice, Marcus interrupted. And you took that choice away from him. Emma looked at her foster siblings, these people she'd protected and provided for and loved unconditionally, and realized they were protecting her for once. I was trying to save him from making a mistake. The only mistake, Lucy said gently, was thinking you get to decide what he can and can't handle. Before Emma could respond, Mrs. Chen cleared her throat from behind the desk. Emma, dear, there's someone here to see you. Emma turned toward the door and felt her heart stop. Alexander stood in the entrance, rain dripping from his dark hair, looking like he'd been through hell. His usually perfect appearance was disheveled, wrinkled shirt, day-old stubble, exhaustion etched in every line of his face, but his gray eyes blazed with the same intensity she remembered from their first dance. Hello, Emma. Alexander. She stood on unsteady legs. What are you doing here? Fighting for us. Lucy, Marcus, and David exchanged meaningful looks and quietly disappeared toward the back of the building, giving them privacy. Alexander moved closer, but not close enough to touch. I've been thinking about what you said, about different worlds, about protecting me from difficult choices. Emma's chest tightened. Alexander? You were wrong. I was realistic. You were scared. His voice was gentle but unyielding. And I don't blame you for being scared. This world I live in, it's complicated and public and sometimes brutal. But Emma, I'd rather face all of that with you than face anything without you. Your business partners can adjust or find new employment. My board of directors serves at my pleasure, not the other way around. Alexander stepped closer. I built an empire, Emma, but what's the point of ruling an empty kingdom? You don't understand what you'd be giving up. I understand perfectly. Alexander reached into his jacket and pulled out a thick folder. I've spent the last 2 weeks restructuring my entire life. Emma stared at the documents he handed her. Legal papers, property deeds, corporate transfers. What is this? Sterling Industries is now run by a board of directors. I'm no longer CEO. Alexander's voice was matter of fact. I've liquidated most of my assets. The penthouse is sold, along with the properties in New York and Monaco. Emma's hands trembled as she flipped through the papers. Alexander, you can't. I can, and I have. Everything's been converted into the foundation, Lucy mentioned. We're going to help foster children transition to independence, exactly what your parents would have wanted. You've lost your mind. I've found my purpose. Alexander stepped close enough that Emma could see the flecks of silver in his gray eyes. Emma, I don't need an empire. I need you. But the Wellington is now co-owned by you. Emma nearly dropped the documents. What? 50% ownership, effective immediately. You're not my employee anymore, Emma. You're my partner. In business and in life, if you'll have me. Emma stared at him, seeing the man who just dismantled his entire world and rebuilt it around their love. You absolute madman, she whispered. Is that a yes? Instead of answering, Emma launched herself into his arms. Alexander caught her, spinning her around the small lobby while she laughed and cried simultaneously. Yes, she said against his lips. Yes to everything. Yes to being partners. Yes to building something beautiful together. Yes to you, Alexander Sterling. When he kissed her, Emma tasted forever and home, and the kind of love she'd only read about in fairy tales. I love you, Alexander murmured against her hair. "I love you enough to give up everything I thought mattered. I love you enough to stop running from the best thing that ever happened to me." They might have stayed there forever, lost in each other, if Lucy hadn't cleared her throat loudly from the doorway. "So," she announced with a grin, "I'm thinking we need to plan a proper celebration. Maybe at a certain hotel ballroom where this whole story started?" Emma looked around at her chosen family, Lucy, beaming despite her injuries, Marcus trying to hide his emotional tears, David already pulling out his phone to document the moment, Mrs. Chen dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. "Actually," Emma said, turning back to Alexander, "there's somewhere else I'd rather celebrate." "Where?" Emma smiled, feeling like the luckiest woman in London. "The balcony where you first kissed me. Where this fairy tale really began." 2 hours later, Emma stood on the same stone balcony overlooking the Thames, wearing the same emerald dress Sarah had loaned her that magical night. But this time, Alexander wasn't a mysterious stranger in a mask. He was the man who'd chosen her over everything else in the world. The hotel staff had thrown together an impromptu celebration in the ballroom below, but Emma preferred the quiet intimacy of their private space under the stars. "Any regrets?" Alexander asked, pulling her close against the night air. Emma looked at the man who'd bought her workplace to get closer to her, who'd defended her to the world's press, who'd dismantled his empire to build a new life with her. "Just one," she said. Alexander's face tightened with concern. "What?" "That I wasted 2 weeks being too scared to fight for us." His smile was brilliant, transforming his entire face. "We have the rest of our lives to make up for lost time." "Is that a promise, Mr. Sterling?" "That's a guarantee, Miss Thompson, though I'm hoping you'll consider a name change eventually." Emma's heart skipped. "Are you proposing?" "Not yet. But when I do, it won't be because I think you need saving. It'll be because I need you to save me every single day." When he kissed her again, Emma realized that sometimes fairy tales didn't end at midnight. Sometimes they were just beginning. Below them, London glittered like scattered diamonds, and somewhere in the ballroom, their friends were celebrating the love story that had started with a dance and would last a lifetime. Emma had finally found her home, not in a place, but in the arms of a man who'd proven that real love was worth any sacrifice. Don't forget to rate this story and subscribe if you want more love stories like this one. Sounds wonderful. She also started the charity that held the gala Saturday night. Foster children were her passion. Emma's wineglass nearly slipped from her fingers. "The Children's Foundation? That was your mother's charity?" "Victoria Sterling Memorial Foundation. She died when I was 15. Alexander's voice roughened. "I was in boarding school in Switzerland, too much of a coward to come home for the final months when the cancer got bad." "Alexander? I've been running from everything she taught me for 20 years. Building wealth, acquiring power, keeping everyone at arm's length." His gray eyes found hers. "Until Saturday night, when I saw you across that ballroom and remembered what it felt like to want something that couldn't be bought." Emma set down her wine, her heart breaking for the lost boy behind the billionaire facade. "Is that why you bought the hotel? Some kind of penance?" "I bought the hotel because I've been watching you for months, and you represent everything I thought I'd lost." Alexander's confession was raw, honest. "Every morning I'd come downstairs to the restaurant for coffee I didn't need, just to watch you work. You made that place feel alive in a way I hadn't experienced since childhood." "So you bought it?" "So I bought it." He laughed, but it sounded hollow. £47 million to be closer to a woman who might never want me back." Emma stared at him, this powerful man who'd restructured his entire life around her, and felt something shift inside her chest. "You gave up your life in New York for me? I'd give up everything for you." The words hung in the air like a promise and a threat. Emma looked around the penthouse, the luxury, the isolation, the careful perfection, and understood what he was really saying. "You're lonely," she realized. "I was, until you." Before she could think, Emma reached up and cupped his face, her thumb tracing the sharp line of his cheekbone. "Alexander Sterling, what am I going to do with you? Give me a chance?" Instead of answering, Emma stood on her tiptoes and kissed him. This time, she was the one taking control. pouring months of loneliness and years of carefully guarded dreams into the connection between them. Alexander responded instantly, his arms wrapping around her waist and lifting her against him. The kiss deepened, became desperate, as if they were both drowning and this was air. When they broke apart, Emma's heart was racing and her carefully planned evening was in ruins. "I should go," she whispered against his lips. "Stay." "Alexander." "Not for that, just stay. Have dinner with me, let me cook for you." "You cook?" "I have many hidden talents." Emma looked into his eyes and saw the vulnerability he worked so hard to hide. This powerful man who could buy anything he wanted was asking her for the one thing money couldn't purchase: her time, freely given. "Okay," she said softly, "I'll stay." Alexander's smile was worth more than all his millions. But as he led her to the kitchen, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that she was stepping into a world that could either heal them both or destroy everything she'd worked to build. Her phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. "How's dinner with mystery hotel owner going? Spill everything." Emma glanced at Alexander, who was pulling ingredients from a refrigerator that probably cost more than her car, and realized she had no idea how to explain that her mystery man from Saturday night was now her billionaire boss who'd bought her workplace just to be near her. Some secrets, she decided, were too complicated for text messages.